This is what's happening to real Americans right now, like you, because of the Democrats. And Senator Katie Britt is kind enough, as you see, to join us live. Senator, welcome back. Always nice to see you.
Hey, Ed, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk about such an important topic, funding our homeland security.
Yeah, I'm stunned that the war hasn't forced cooler heads to prevail and get these folks their paychecks at TSA and everywhere else. Do you worry it's going to take a terror attack or something catastrophic to wake up the Democrats?
Look, unfortunately, we already saw a tragedy strike in Austin, Texas, and yet Democrats seem to not flinch because they continue to put politics in front of the people that they serve. Look, I think it's really important for people to understand that Democrats have not even been coming to the table with regards to having conversations about what is a pathway forward. We have exchanged papers back and forth about what that looks like. They have the pen, but yet have not to sit down with their colleagues and say, how do we work this out? What does that tell you? This is about posturing for November and not about actually doing what we're supposed to for the people who sent us here. In addition to keeping Americans safe, which is like the first order of business should always be. We have countless numbers of Americans who have taken an oath to the mission to keep our borders secure, to keep our interior safe, to make sure that America is safe and prosperous throughout the Department of Homeland Security, and they are now beginning to go without paychecks. You heard me highlight some of it there, where we had the deputy administrator saying that TSA members were having to sell plasma in order to make ends meet. We heard the secretary respond to me by saying that one man was having to borrow money for his wife's cancer treatment. Look, is that the way you treat people who have stepped up to serve? It is absolutely not. And look, now is the time to act. We know that there is a threat to our interior, Ed. We know the Biden administration, the lawlessness that they allowed at the border, that we have known terrorists throughout our country, and we know that they want us in harm's way, and so we need to do our job.
Absolutely. I think back to the president's speech at the State of the Union. You were there, and you talked about standing up for illegals, the Democrats, instead of Americans. And then I think about the other part of yesterday's hearing that the fake news is ignoring about migrant kids that the Biden administration let in and clearly did not keep track of. Take a listen to this. I'll get you to respond.
They issued these kids a hotline that they could call if they had trouble with the sponsor family that they were put with, and you're saying that 65,000 calls to this hotline designated to protect these kids went unanswered? Is that what you're telling this committee?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Do you know how many staffers the administration assigned to answering these phones and helping these kids?
Okay, so it trailed off there at the end. But basically, the Trump administration has now saved over 100,000 kids. Nobody's giving them credit. But why did the Democrats leave these kids to die or be trafficked? And I wonder if you think anyone's going to be held accountable.
Yeah, do you see what the previous administration did? It is not only deeply disturbing, it is evil. To allow these kids to go unaccounted for, to come to the border, to release them to people who they have no idea what those people's intentions were, it is beyond irresponsible, and it is disgusting. The Biden administration looked away from the DNA policy that the Trump administration has put in place. So we are not only creating accountability now through President Trump and his actions, but Secretary Noem said yesterday, Ed, she is going and looking to find these kids. She has had remarkable success, she and the Department of Homeland Security, of being able to find so many of these missing kids that Democrats not only lost, but haven't been looking for. And that's going to continue. But what we have to do is not only find these children and return them to their homes and their families, but there must be accountability. People are sick of things happening and no one paying the price. People who look the other way, people who allowed this to happen, we have to be held, we have to bring them to account, bring them in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. They need to answer questions, and they need to face the consequences of the dire conditions that they put these children in.
It's absolutely heartbreaking, and I'm glad that you and others are finally doing something about it. Senator Katie Britt, we appreciate your time today. We'll have you back soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.